Sterilizing, buying time, killing people next in line. Lower classes, social slime, they don't matter. Genocide, sick from water, sick from air. Making money, they don't care. Caesar shit, force of air. Fuck them back, it's only for they war. They shoot, they kill, they massacre, rape. They burn the kids, no one lives countries. Lie to your face, fight and die. Cause God forgives. Selling lies and buying time, killing people next in line. Lower classes, social side, they don't matter. Genocide, sick from water, sick from air. Making money, they don't care. See the shit, force of air. Fuck them back, that's only fair. They bomb, they shoot, they kill, they massacre, rape. They burn the kids, no one leaves countries. Lie to your face, fight and die, cause God forgives. Yeah. Coming back around again.
Welcome to the show. I'm your host, Ron Stevens. This is Rock the Boat right here on UCY.tv, and I'm your host for the next hour. And it is July, the 3rd today. And we spent the day basically over at Michael Schmidt's farm, the renegade milk farmer. Not just a milk farm, he grows all kinds of stuff, but the milk seems to be under the craw of the government, who's trying to protect their monopoly on the milk industry and make sure that they don't have any competition. But so we were over there today, we were over there yesterday too, and so we were branding all afternoon, cattle, pieces of maple wood. They're having a symphony in the barn this weekend over there to raise money for legal expenses, which have been many since in 23, 24 years. And so I don't know where they came from, but there was 200 maple pieces that were, routed, and I guess they're kind of like a walking tray, right? There's a slot in there to stick a wine glass in, and then I guess you put your sandwich or whatever on it and wander around. So the neighbor went and made a brand, which is Symphony in the Barn. He did a really nice job on the brand, and it took him 6 hours to make it. So he just did a relief on a piece of metal and did the artwork on the computer and then transferred it over to the steel. And took him 6 hours of the Dremel to make the relief. And so we had it set in a big drill press and with a big, 3-inch, 4-inch, whatever they are, torch, propane torch. So it took us a little while to get it set up just so that everything was level enough so the brand worked. So it all branded evenly. So we got that set up, and so there was 200 of these things to do. So it was quite a time-consuming thing because we got to use the propane blower to heat up the brand, and we'd punch out 3, sometimes 4, once in a while 5 these maple things before we had to reheat it again. So It took us a fair while to do it, but we got all but 8 done because we ran out of propane, and so, but we got 192 of the 200 done. So that's okay. So Michael's 8 and 10-year-old sons were giving us a hand. We were branding them, and they were oiling them. And it took a little while to teach them how to get in all the router spots and whatnot, and make sure the whole thing's covered. So it took a little bit of that, but it was interesting. A lot of people coming and going in and out of there because they're getting ready for this thing. And they're bringing in top line chefs from Toronto and that who stand behind Michael, and they would love to be using Michael's product. They'd love to be using the cream and the milk and that, but unfortunately, it's like they've been beating on Michael. They haven't burned his place down yet. They've raided it many times, and have been dragging him out of court for 12. It's called 24. It's got to be 24 years now. And it kind of reminds me of Waco, Texas, where they just take a group of people that aren't harming anybody and center them out and come at them hard. No, we haven't had. Well, there's been lots of armed raids at the place. There hasn't been anybody shooting at anybody yet, and nobody's burning anybody down yet. We haven't seen the tanks roll in yet. Waco is an absolutely disgusting display. And what I find most disgusting about Waco is it was a definite test of the American people and the American people's moral fortitude, and they failed the test miserably, because I was in the States the entire time that Waco was going on. And I'm going, where the hell are the Americans? Why are they not flocking to this place and getting between the compound and the police or the army, whatever the hell that was down there? Where are the people? Where are the moral men and women standing between this criminal organization known as the government, who are just got no business being there, and eventually a lot of people died in a fire, and a lot of people got shot up, and for what purpose? A test, because that was a Christian compound, and one of the globalist agendas is to wipe Christianity off the map. They've been doing it through the public schools since the government got control of schooling. And remember, everything public is government. So the public school system is the government school system, which is the globalist school system, to indoctrinate the children into believing all kinds of nonsense and messing people up. So, we hopefully the weather holds. There's a lot of storms coming and going right now, and hopefully the weather holds, because it's an amazing. I wish everybody would go out to the farm. It was absolutely amazing. We had lunch out there today, and there's about, I don't know, probably, I don't know, what was it, the kitchen table, 14, 15 people, whatever, working around on the place today, and just phenomenal freaking food. Everything's the way it's supposed to be. I don't even like to use the word organic or non-GMO, because to have to describe real food with a name like GMO free or organic shows just how far down the wrong road we've gone. It used to be called food, but now 90, I don't know what it is now, 95% plus of the food has been adulterated. The nutrition value of the food has been depleted drastically, and so real food has to be tagged with names, because where food used to be just food, now food is a poison combination of nonsense, or so-called food, which people call food, So real food has to be tagged with a different name. Bloody ridiculous. But yeah, I'm looking forward to this because Michael not only is an extraordinarily dedicated family man, farmer, he's also a respected conductor. And so several orchestras are coming in. Symphony orchestras are coming in to the farm this weekend, Saturday and Sunday. They're going to do a thing Saturday night starting at 7, runs till, I'm not sure what time that runs till. Saturday, August the 5th, let me see, 7 o'clock, concert under the stars, gala evening concert celebrating music in the barns, new summer residency home at Glencoten Farms, come along with music in the barns to the place where it all began, founded by artistic director Carl Gimbel. Music in the barns evening performance will thread summer's past, celebrating the new beginning and lifelong memories of Symphony in the Barn. And then at 10 o'clock Saturday night, late night roaming installation concert, including Spanning Tree by Michael Oster, performed by Music in the Barns, and share a lantern and get ready to experience the beauty and the silence of the night sky as we move through the 6 stations of Spanning Trees, the 2015 concert work by premier Montreal composer Michael Oster. And then Sunday, August the 6th, starting at 2 till 9 p.m., they're going to have a gourmet concerta, celebration of nourishing food and glorious music. Entertain your taste buds as you encounter the symphony of your senses. Enjoy delicious food prepared by some of Ontario's top chefs, including Jamie Kennedy, Chris McDonald, local food chef extraordinaire Carrie McClellan. Bathe in the sounds of some of the world's finest instruments until the cows come home. Soak in the sights of Canada's controversial raw milk producing farm, home of Michael Schmidt. Proceeds go to the Food Freedom Legal Defense Fund. And if you want to know more about it, you can go to symphonyinthebarn.com. And if anybody's in this neck of the woods, Saturday night and Sunday, by all means, drop by the farm. And all the details and costs and this and that and the other thing are all contained on the website symphonyinthebarn.com. So it's been, I've known Michael now for, it's got to be 10 years. And a finer man you're not likely ever going to meet. And they just keep trucking, man. They just keep going. And there's no intentions of shutting down. Now, the sad part is, we're over there yesterday. I was asking Michael, I says, when's the next court date? You know, because you got to deal with this concert in the barn thing this weekend. And so court date is tomorrow again. So not only do they have to deal with all of this, getting the concerts and everybody together, tomorrow's another court date, which is absolutely freaking disgusting, considering that they have no case, never had a case, should have never brought this case to court. They took 6 weeks to lay obstruction charges, 6 weeks after the raid in 2015 to lay some obstruction charges, and they charged the people that weren't obstructing anything. The ones, if you want to call it obstruction, which I wouldn't go that far, would have been the middle and late-aged ladies that were there that day, because it was the ladies who refused to allow the police to leave the farm with their food, and eventually forced the police. They loaded everything up on the cube van, and and then the ladies are not letting anybody go anywhere. And eventually the police and the head government guy relented and emptied the cube van before they left. So, but there's a certain number of people that they have been attempting to chase down for years, and not because they're dangerous criminals, but because they're honest, upright, moral men. And they don't want that because that could encourage other people to stand their ground. So after 6 weeks after the raid, they finally come back and charge 5 people, all of them farmers, and all of them good, hard-working, honest men, because these are the guys who they wish to target in order to try to get, say, the ladies who force them to unload the truck to lose the spine that they're growing. So there was no case, there is no case. I guess maybe tomorrow I'll wear my life jacket again and my signs and that, and go over to the court because it's halfway to Michael's farm. I'll probably end up over there tomorrow, giving them a hand to get tarps up over the stage or whatever, just in case we do get a rain. But all well and good. There's a lady over there. I forget what her name is now. I'm really lousy with names. I met her there a week or so ago when I was over there, maybe 2 weeks ago now. And she's from Germany, where Michael's from. Michael came here when he was very young, though. And she's having quite a trip. She's been over here for 4 months, and she's been all through the States and Texas and Dakotas or wherever, Oregon, and so she's been at the farm for a while and helped prepare that lovely lunch we had, and so she's going to be here for the weekend and then heading out to Toronto for 2 days and then Nova Scotia for a month, and then heading back to Germany. And so she's had quite a very interesting girl, because, and the one thing, and I said this before when I was talking to her last time, I said, what was the one thing that really struck you in your travels across, around America and around Canada and that? And so what really, like, she was in New York, I think, and she was in New York for a bit. And she said the one thing that really struck her that she couldn't even get a grip on was the homelessness, the street people in that, in the cities. She just couldn't understand that. How you let your own people get into that situation? And but I didn't bring up the fact that Merkel in Germany is destroying the country from the inside just as well, with the migrant invasion of her country. I didn't go there with her, but I may, before the weekend's out, have a little chat with her about it, what she thinks about what's going on over there. Good to find out. But, it just, it's all about the good men and women standing up and holding ground. And when you're over Michael's farm, you'd never even think that these people had ever been raided or would be ever any reason to raid these people. It's just, it's amazing. You roll in. Well, the one gentleman up there, I think he has something to do with the music in the barns, but he's from Toronto, and I said I don't even want to go back to Toronto. Last time I was in Toronto, I said when I was done in there, I don't ever need to come back to this place. This is not the Toronto I remember. And he says it's pathetic. So the population's getting too big, and any idea of civility is gone. You know, people just, it's all, get out of my way. I'm trying to get here. I'm trying to do this. Just everybody, it's just, he says, bad. And we were talking. I said, when you come into the laneway into the farm here, my thing is that, you just would like a gate there, shut the gate and shut the rest of the world out. Because once you get into that farm, you go, this is how life is supposed to be, right? People helping people, and lots of good food, and lots of very talented people, or artistic people in that, and as it should be, very pleasant, very mellow. The stress level doesn't exist, even though they've been rated many, many times. It's just a very soothing, natural place to be. Well, it worked the hell out of us today, which is fine with me. The only thing I could do today was my left shoulder still screwed up big time from when I got run over by the cops at the Washington Courthouse, where we're going again tomorrow. And so my job was basically to, I only got one arm right now, really. So, I would, Paul was running the blowtorch, and it was hot. It was a hot freaking job. And so, I would just pick up one of the blanks and load it with my right hand, and then pull the brand down with the handle on the drill press with my right hand, so didn't have to bother with my left arm too much. But no, it's just ridiculous. We go to court tomorrow, and it will be absolutely insane. It's insanity to continue to go to this court where they have they never had a case to start with. And they started by charging 5 guys. 2 of them, they said they didn't have enough evidence. But these were 2 guys that were pretty vocal. And one of them was suing the police from another instance. Well, actually, the warrant incidents that were sent out, because one of the gentlemen was roughed up pretty bad. Even though he'd been served the warrant, they came back to his farm and roughed him up and rearrested him and called him a liar and that, even though he told them, he says, I just got back from processing. And they didn't believe him, so they roughed him up pretty good and ended up going to the hospital and suing them. And so they didn't want him involved in the trial of obstruction. And the other gentleman who was involved in the sheep napping incident, when the government said that all of Ladies Montana Jones heritage sheep had to be put down so they could see if they had a disease, which of course they didn't. And so they did eventually kill all her sheep. But before the government came to kill them all, somebody rolled in with a truck and loaded them and moved them out of there. So then the government's running around the countryside trying to find these missing heritage sheep, and eventually tracked them down. And eventually it killed them all. And lo and behold, as the owner of the sheep, Montana Jones, said, none of them had the disease. But it's all about getting rid of anything heritage, too, because as Rockefeller and others, not Rockefeller, but Kissinger and others said, well, it would have been Rockefeller plan, too, which is control everything and own nothing. But just make sure you got the control, and as Kissinger stated, control the food, control the people. So they don't want any natural food. They want control of all the food, and they don't want any heritage animals because they want a monolithic food system. And that goes to Mark Baker of Baker Green Acres in Michigan, who is basically in the same boat as Michael. He's a retired Army guy. I can't think of the Air Force maybe. And they have been dragging his ass through the mud and dragging him in and out of courts because of his heritage pigs and raiding his house or his farm and so on and so forth. And it's really sad because these are what you could call the most upstanding moral men you will likely ever come across. And I know that those aren't the only two. There's many of them out there. Many of them have been raided. None of them have done anybody any harm. Their sole purpose of these guys and gals is to produce good, nutritious food that has not been adulterated with drugs and vaccines and all kinds of other garbage. And that's their sole purpose, is to provide good, nutritious foods that are safe to actually eat or drink. And this is the nonsense that goes on with these people. The government is just a corporation, and they and their friends don't like competition. Period. That's it. They don't like competition. There's an old saying: government doesn't like competition, and so they get ugly. So whether you're stateside or here in Canada. We need to stand with our brothers and sisters who are, they don't have to do this. They don't have to do this, but they have a moral guide, and the moral guide tells them they have to do this. And they're doing what they have to do, and we need more people to stand with them. Not just say, oh, isn't that terrible? They raided that farm and they didn't do nothing wrong. They even raided the Amish or the Mennonites, and they want control. They want control. And they can't poison you if you have good food. They can't shorten your lifespan if you have good food. So the idea is to shut down anybody that has anything to do with good food. Now, I know people say, well, there's vegetable growers in that aren't being raided. Well, that's maybe true. But overall, it's about control. And, I freaked out when I read that the first grocery store in the United States did not exist until 1945. And then that goes back to control the food, control the people. And all of the outlets that we used to be able to get food from, real food, are going by the wayside just because people don't stand up. And I know they got everybody so busy trying to keep a roof over their heads that the idea that they have time to go search out real food in that is probably not very logical for these people. They just working their tails off, and then they got to go get some groceries somewhere. So they head to the grocery store and spend their hard-earned dollars buying the so-called food that is harming their systems. What you put in is if you're putting in garbage, you're going to become garbage. And that's just the way it is, because everything you put in your body affects your body and your mind to a point. So if you remove all the nutritious food and, like take a carrot or something, I said to somebody, I read somewhere that the nutritional value of a carrot today is about 60% of what it was back in the day. And I was talking to an organic farmer. He says, you ain't even close. He said it may have been 60% at some point, which was quite a while ago, He said it might be closer to 45% or 50%. So the food you're eating, it may look like a carrot, it may look like a tomato, it may look like a potato, but the nutritional value in those products has been, undermined greatly, and so you're not getting the nutrition, but what you are getting, I guess they're replacing the nutritional value with the poison value, so it still comes up to 100% carrot, or tomato or potato or whatever else, but it's pretty ugly. It's extremely ugly what they've done to our food system. It's even uglier that someone who only has the best interests of their fellow man at heart should be dragged down through the courts and beat up the way they have been and continue to be. So, people need to stand with their farm communities and that. A lot of people say, well, I live in a big city, I can't even get near. Well, there's always a way. If there's a will, there's a way. And, you got to take control of your food rights. And nobody has the right to sell you basically poisoned food and not be held accountable for it. This is the way this has been operating more and more all the time. They keep building new bureaucracies and filling those slots with people who really don't want to ask questions. Most of the immigrants in that, well, speaking of immigrants, I'm going to get off Michael here for a bit. Farm. I see Montreal, the Olympic Stadium, has been opened to welcome the hordes of illegal migrants coming across our border, supposedly fleeing Donald Trump and his gang of so-called henchmen. And we have our RCMP, which is the Queen's Police, helping. We have the OPP and that helping, but mainly the RCMP, helping people across the border, not standing at the border saying, you can't come in here, right? You have no authority to come in here. But they're actually helping with the luggage and that. They're like government bellboys, I guess. Meanwhile, they may shoot your dog or may shoot your kid or your mother or your husband or wife. But they ain't shooting at the immigrants or the migrants. They're helping them across the border because they're supposed to, because the Canadian government has partnered with the UN Refugee Agency and the most notorious of notorious, George Soros and his open societies. So they've all partnered up together to make sure that our borders are flung open. And if anybody ever saw that video of George Soros quite a few years ago about how they actually took down the Philippines, destroyed it financially because they had the power to do so, and they did it. And Soros says, well, that was amoral what we did, but because it's amoral, and amoral people don't have any empathy for what they did or who they did it to, they don't have any moral guideposts. And this is what the so-called Canadian government has partnered with Mr. I'm an amoral son of a bitch, Soros, to help with the migrants, of all things. So, then we have another thing. I saw a story in London, Ontario, which is, and that goes all the way back to the 1976 Conference on Human Settlements in Vancouver about what's not sustainable. Private property is not sustainable. Air conditioning is not sustainable. Your water and electricity use is not sustainable. And your automobile is not sustainable. So I see in London, Ontario now, downtown London, there's a proposal to build a 27-story, 200-apartment building in downtown London, Ontario. And so what's the big deal on that? Well, it wouldn't be, except that this particular building will have nowhere for anyone to park a private vehicle. So you're going to have a 27-story, 200-apartment building downtown, close to the transit, and therefore there's no requirement to put in any parking facilities for the 200 apartments. So for those 200 to 400 people that will live in that building, there's no parking facilities. And part of the game is you don't need an automobile. The Rockefeller Foundation, I've found the guy here in Ontario at least, but when you have listings, real estate listings, there's a walk score. And the lower the walk score, the closer you are to the downtown core. And therefore you're in a walkable community at that point. And the farther you get away from the core, the higher the rate goes up. And so I got a hold of the guy's name who came up with this app. And it didn't take me but a couple of minutes to trace it back to the Rockefeller Foundation, with Rockefeller saying that, like, why did you fund this thing? Well, anything to help get people out of their personal automobiles. And that's what it's all about. They want you walking, they want you dependent on transit, and they want you living in buildings that they can control. Which is totally ridiculous. Now the gas stations are being removed, the electric charging stations are being put in, and we see where this is all headed. And this is the very same game they played in the early 70s with the Saudi oil embargo, and all about getting us out of our vehicles. And once you're out of your vehicle and you don't have transportation, and you're totally dependent on your bicycle or your transit, what you've done is you've moved your rights away, or let somebody take your rights away, your God-given rights away, and what you really got is North Korea. Phnom Penh or whatever it's called, the city there. If you look at that city, which I have several times over the past, when you look at that city, what you see is the globalist agenda for the rest of us. You know, when they have that stupid Earth Day and Earth Hour or whatever it is, they always point out North Korea is normally dark at night because they have restrictions on electricity and this and that and the other thing. And if you look, on some of the videos, the main drag in that of Phnom Penh, I think that's how you pronounce it, not sure. But you see people walking, you see people on bicycles, you see they have the subway there, and the public transportation buses, whatnot. And but you see very, 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 very few personal vehicles. What you do see is you see government vehicles, police vehicles, you see ambulances and whatnot, and the work crews, but not much else. And so if you take a good close look at North Korea, and you understand the globalist agenda, and the idea of getting not of your personal vehicles being not sustainable, and so on and so forth. What you basically got is the template that is coming out of North Korea, and you have to pay attention to that, because I don't think anybody wants to live that way. Nobody wants their freedom of movement taken away from them. Now, I had some other stories here. I lost all my tabs again, but I was just looking for some off-the-wall stories, and I'm right here at ucy.tv, and beside the chat is a news feed, and this is how bad the bureaucracy has become. And again, every time I say bureaucracy, I invite people to go read The New Despotism, written in 1929 by Chief Justice in England, warning us about this very thing. And so here's when the bureaucracy gets too big. There's also another book. I think it's a book, and I can't remember the name of it, but it's about creating need, which is kind of like problem, reaction, solution. And the idea is that the governments and their buddies create needs. And then once a need has been created, then it must be filled. Fill the need. And this is all about growing bureaucracy. But this story here, I want to go read it because this is beyond stupid, and it's right here on ucy.news. This makes no sense whatsoever. A mother of 4 fined $1,200 for braiding hair without a license in America. Now, I don't know where in America this is, but I'm going to go find out, because this is absolutely nuts. But this is what's going on. And we're allowing them to do this to us. And then you got a certain number of people who, okay, so this is a black mother, or black mother of 4. Okay, let me go see this. I don't usually go to this kind of thing, but we'll find out what we got here. According to, this is Andy Media, according to the most recent data from the Bureau of Labor Statistics, more than 25% of Americans are employed in a field that requires a license. The process, okay, yada, yada, yada. But that doesn't tell me about this. Okay, here's the story. Would-be hair breeders typically must spend thousands of dollars and complete months of training and coursework before they're granted legal permission to work. At the press conference held in New Jersey, where a cosmetology license requires completion of a 1,200-hour course that costs up to $17,000, hair braiders spoke about the burden of complying with occupational licensing laws. One woman, Anita, an immigrant from Ghana and mother of 4, said she was hit with a $1,200 fine from the state when she was caught working as a hair braider without a license. She says it doesn't make sense that she should have to be state licensed to do something that's part of her culture. Braiding is just part of us, she said. It's something that we grow up with. The justification for occupational licensing laws is that they increase quality and safety standards in the workplace. Critics, however, argue that all the red tape and fees stand as barriers to employment while driving up the price of services for everyone else. And this view may be catching on In a July 21st speech, Donald Trump's Labor Secretary, Alexander Acosta, called the reform to occupational licensing laws, stating the practice hinders the American workforce. Additionally, the Federal Trade Commission held a roundtable event last week to examine ways to streamline state-based occupational licensing. Now, this is what I've been saying for a long time, and this is another case of bureaucracy. Okay, you create a need, and somebody created a need that they needed. They couldn't trust braiders, and it may be unsafe if they don't take a course and so on and so forth. But it's just about building another bureaucracy. You create a need, and then you fill it, and you end up building a more and bigger bureaucracies, because then you need people to fill it for it. And then what you end up with is a larger and larger percentage of the public, of the men and women, working for these bureaucracies. So instead of the men and women standing up, and I know these people who are all licensed are also ticked off at other things, like their water rates, hydro rates, yada, yada, yada. But because they're working for government bureaucracies, they're far less likely to stand up and say anything about it. And that's why the bureaucracies are built so big. It makes it very difficult for the people to say enough is enough, and they carry on. But the deal here is always the same. The justification for occupational licensing or licensing of any kind laws is that they increased quality and safety standards. Now, I don't know anybody that's ever, maybe it happens, but I've never heard of it, anyone being injured or their life quality being depleted because they got their hair braided. But what I've come to understand now is the word safety is actually code for revenue source. Because everything they sell you, everything they bring through the legislatures and that, is always for the cause of safety. Somewhere in there it has something to do with safety or quality, but mostly safety. And, I don't know, quality of braids, does that make any sense? No, of course not. But the bureaucracy doesn't have to make any sense. They get themselves legislated into position, then all of a sudden they're legislated so they're arm's length of the government, and they basically go on their own merry way doing their thing. But it's about entrapping people into being part of the bureaucracy and enslaving people. And then you need, of course, if you're going to start a bureaucracy, we need some cash to pay for it. So now you have to take your licensing, you have to take your courses, you got to pay for this and that. And but it's all about quality and safety, which it's not. It's all a freaking lie. It's all a scam. And this idea of licensing, people got to wrap their brains around. Because people say, well, it's for safety reasons. Okie dokie. But people were braiding hairs for centuries, I would think. Probably quite successfully. I don't recall a lot of people being harmed by braids or by the braider. But apparently nowadays, yes, this is a common fact. And it goes all the way back to you look at the driver's license. What was the driver's license sold to people on? Safety. Okay? If we don't regulate this, or in other words, license it, everybody will run into each other and they will all kill themselves or be killed by these unqualified, dangerous drivers. Well, it couldn't be farther from the truth. It's to say that without government regulations and licensing, people will just mindlessly run into things, not caring for their own safety or anything else, because only the government has the capacity to make things in your life safe for you. And you should be quite happy to pay the fee because now you're assured of quality and safety. Well, of course, it's totally ridiculous, right? There are people who could drive at 100 plus mile an hour every day the rest of their lives and never run into anything. There are also the vast majority of people that drive the speed limit who get into accidents every day. So it's not about safety, it's about revenue, it's about control, and that's all it's about. And that's all the licensing thing has been all about. It's all about the regulations are all about. It is all about building bureaucracy and revenue, picking your pockets. Can you imagine this lady? I mean, how can you even qualify something this stupid? I'm sorry, ma'am, I'm with the Department of Braidery. And yes, it's a new bureaucracy we just built because we found that there's a lack of quality and some safety concerns about braids in general, and especially unlicensed braiders. So could I see your license, please? And I don't know what you're talking about. Well, you have to have a license to braid hair. Where the hell did that come from? Well, it's about quality and safety, ma'am. I already told you that. Don't give me a hard time. So, could I see your license? I don't have a license. Well, I'm sorry to say this, but I'm going to have to cite you on that. Just doing my job, ma'am. Just doing my job. And you'll have to go to court, but I do believe there's a $1,200 fine attached to this. I can't afford a $1,200 fine. I got 4 kids I'm feeding. What are you, nuts? Well, ma'am, you should have thought about that before you started braiding hair without your license, without your braiding course. You know, it's whose fault, ma'am? I would think it's your fault. If you only followed the rules and regulations, ma'am, and got your license, did your schooling, paid for the schooling, and paid for the license, we wouldn't be having this conversation right now. So whose fault is it that you're $1,200 out of pocket and you're going to have a hard time feeding your children? Don't blame the government, ma'am. If you followed the rules and regulations, I wouldn't even be having a conversation with you. I would ask you for a license. You would have showed it to me. I would have been on my way, and you've been on with your life, and there'd be no problem, ma'am. And then you're going to have people say, well, she should have got her damn license. Other people got their license. Where does she get off and thinking she could braid hair without a license? This is what we've become. Absolute idiots. Has to stop. Has to stop. The government is out of control. I should rephrase that. The government is not out of control. The government is in complete control of every aspect of your frickin' life. And tomorrow they're going to come up with some more control of your life. And the next day, and the next day, and the next day, and the next day. Until they got you living in a 300 square foot, according to the United Nations, 350 square foot containment center called your condo or your home, with no way to move yourself around without the government, and so on and so forth. This life people want, who am I to say anything? But I don't believe that's the life people want. Certainly not the life that your forefathers came here to give you. Your life has been taken from you. You know, I put up a thing, and it's called, what's it called? The Faceless Bureaucrat. There's this suit sitting in like a throne chair almost. There's no face. Now, if you ever phoned up a government agency, there's no face. There's a bunch of runaround, a bunch of bull crap, but there's no face. You don't see anybody. And they just drone on about what you're supposed to give them and this and that and the other thing. I mean, one of the things that really crushed me was, or really ticked me off, one, I can't have the food I want to have. Two, I'm very disturbed about a 24-year fight over milk. And Well, one of the things, like I spent a long time in construction and sales and marketing and that, and to see my fellow construction guys who, when I first went into construction, while they were decent guys, wouldn't put up with much crap from anybody. Now they're like little children. And maybe it has to do with the plastic in the water bottles. Maybe it has to do with the alteration of the food. Maybe it has to do with the vaccines. It's a combination of everything. Have weakened the spirit, mind, and spine of everyone concerned. But when I see these guys getting ticketed $250 for having a smoke in their work truck or in their trailer, and not getting uppity about that, it bothers me. And this new thing that came out where you have to pay a $600 fee and take a course to walk up a ladder is beyond stupid. Just like the braider, they've been braiding hair for centuries, and just like ladders, people have been going up ladders for centuries. And this is about personal responsibility. I don't know about the braiding part, but the ladder part. And, people, well, you could get hurt. Well, that's true. But me giving you $600 isn't going to not get me hurt. Right? Is it? Because people will continue to get hurt on ladders. But only those who don't take the time to be responsible. Well, the government's responsible. Well, no, they're not. You're never responsible for anything. You just come and take my money. I had to work hard to get that $600. Now you're telling me I can't go up the ladder. I've been going up for 10 years without giving you $600 all of a sudden. And the more we lay down, the more they're going to pick your pockets. The more they're going to grind you down. The more they are going to control your life. And until they got you shoved in a little box beside a transit system, eating garbage food, and that's your life. It ain't going to be pleasant. Now, I was at the doctor's the other day trying to get a hold of my ultrasound results, which I didn't get. They wouldn't give them to me. I tried to explain to them that it's my shoulder. That's my paper because it's the results from my shoulder, and they want me to pay them for it. I ain't paying you for it. It's mine. Get your grubby paws out of my pocket. And so, you're running with that kind of nonsense as well. And I see we're just about out of time here. So, everybody that knows what's going on, all I can say is keep talking, teaching, and shining the light. We're going to win this. And if you are near Durham, Ontario this weekend and you want some really top-notch food and you want some top-notch symphony and meet some really good people, try sliding by Symphony in the Barn. You look that up, symphonyinthebarn.com, and I imagine that's where I'm going to be most of the weekend. I may do my show Sunday. I'm either going to have to cancel my show Sunday or do the show Sunday. I don't know what I'm going to do. Anyway, everybody have a great night.
Selling lies and buying time, killing people next in line. Lower classes, social slime, they don't matter. Genocide, sick from water, sick from air, making money, they don't care. Caesar shit, force of air, fuck them back, it's only for they war. They shoot, they kill, they massacre, rape, they burn the kids. No one makes countries lie to your face, fight and die. Cause God forgives.